From the NewsChannel 5 network and Out and About Nashville, this is Out and About Today, sponsored by the Tennessee Performing Arts Center.
Hello and welcome to Out and About Today. I'm Brent Meredith. On tonight's show, I'm excited to welcome Dr. Susan Edwards, Executive Director and CEO of the Frist Art Museum, back to the show for the first time in a while for a special in-depth look at how this Nashville favorite has survived the pandemic while continuing to provide a place of refuge and beauty. We'll also have a visual preview of current and upcoming exhibits to help you plan your visits to celebrate the Frist's 20th anniversary this year. But first, I'm joined by my co-hosts via Zoom for tonight's Buzz About. Welcome Pam Wheeler and Chuck Long. Hey guys, good to see you.
How are you?
Doing well.
Hi.
It's good to be here and see y'all there. So we've got a short amount of time for our buzz tonight, so I don't want to lose any opportunity to get y'all's opinions. First, right out of the gate, I know you guys have seen this. It's probably not new news to everyone, but Bianca Page Way, I felt like deserved at least a few minutes of our time to talk about. So we all remember Mark Middleton, you know, the famous Bianca Page, the pantomime rage. A street was renamed after her here in Nashville. The Metro Council approved it, and it is now on the map. So I think we actually have a picture of the map for you guys to take a look at so you can kind of see where it is. Yep, there we go. So Bianca Page Way, there's tracks, and then we've got some photos. So that's Bianca got her start doing a impersonation of Prince, and then there she is through the years at Pride, in the park, and a few other things. But what was y'all's first impression when you heard that this might be a reality, and then when it did become a reality? Chuck, I'll start with you.
Well, I was so excited. You know, I came out late, and I just remember when I did come out and started going to some of the bars on Church Street and that kind of thing. That was one of the first times that I saw Bianca. And I just, that memory, there was just something, Bianca had so much charisma and chutzpah that it was just, I just remember just being so excited, you know, seeing the show that night. And I was like, wow, that's who they've been talking about all this time. So to see, you know, from that to then, you know, getting a street named, I mean, that's progress, and I think it's very exciting.
I 100% agree. And Pam and I had the pleasure a few years back of working with Mark on the Pride Board and doing some other events with Bianca and whatnot. So I'm curious to hear your reaction, Pam, knowing Mark the way you did.
Right, for sure. I think about Bianca, the performer. I think about Mark, the participant in so many community organizations and doing the work and raising money. And so I'm thrilled at that news, very excited. I have got some great memories like Chuck, being at the shoot and watching the shows and Bianca coming out and commanding the room and demanding a cocktail. You know how she did that.
Yeah.
Very happy. I want to thank who was the driving force behind that, getting that accomplished.
Well, Ron Sanford, I think, was sort of pushing that pretty hard. Lifelong friend and real big supporter of Bianca. And then, of course, Metro Council. I'm blanking on who took it to the council, who introduced the resolution now, which forgive me for that. But I know he was a driving force behind it and then was so excited to see it finally come to fruition. So I know he.
Bradford.
Well, I'm sorry.
Russ Bradford.
Thank you, Pam. Yeah, thank you, Pam. So thank you for the work in getting that done, everyone. And we've only got a couple minutes left, and I wanted to make sure we had a chance to talk about this because we've had so much sort of negative news and bad news and all of the attacks against our community we've seen locally and across the state. But one of the articles I came across in my reading over the last few days, and several articles of that was, and I'm going to read this so I don't screw it up, but 3/4 of Americans support LGBTQ non-discrimination laws. So a broad majority in nearly every religious group favor protections for LGBTQ Americans. Is that something that you thought we would be seeing at this time? Chuck, I'll start with you first.
Well, I can't say no. I didn't think we would see it, you know, in that situation, 3/4. But I will say the thing, and I love the fact, you know, I work for the Methodist, and I love the fact that Tennessee Methodists have overwhelmingly been in favor of inclusivity. And I think a lot of times with, you know, faith-based groups, that drives it for a lot of people, which is great. But the one thing that's really disappointing to me was, you know, recently when the Vatican said that they can't bless same-sex unions, I think that's another step back. And so I think, you know, though a lot of Catholics support it, I do think that when you have a huge group like that, or, you know, the Vatican say something like that, again, I think you take a step back. But I still want to celebrate the fact that the majority of Tennesseans, you know, are supportive, which I think that's terrific.
Why do we keep, why in the South especially, are we seeing commitment to the opposite. You know, if the majority of the country is okay with and wants protections, or even is surprised to find out that they aren't there, why then do you think we see so many politicians and so much legislation the opposite?
I know. So my first reaction was, is this legit data? Because we talked about it last show, so much anti-trans legislation proposed. So is it a disconnect between the people trying to make laws and the people? Is it, or is that poll, was it a little off? I don't know the answer, but I was pleased to see the data, of course. And that's my experience, right? I think that's this group's experience, that we do have support.
Yeah, and I'm sorry to cut us off again, because here we are out of time on such a popular topic. But again, I thank you guys, and we'll see you next week for the next Buzz About. But after this short break, we'll begin our special two-part interview with the Frist Art Museum Executive Director and CEO, Dr. Susan Edwards. Stay with us.